I recently did an informal survey with 7 of our past clients that have sold their businesses in the last year to 2 years. And the question that I asked them is if they could talk to an owner of a privately held business that's considering selling their business in the next 1 to 2 years, what would they tell them? Well, the answers that I got were, for the most part, things that we've talked about on this channel before. But there were a couple new ones that made me scratch my head a little bit and were great pieces of advice. So if you're a seller thinking about selling your business in the next 2 years, stick around because I think you'll find this particular episode helpful. As always, if you've got questions as I go through this presentation, please feel free to drop the question in the comments section below, and or just simply drop me an email or give me a call. I'd be more than happy to spend 10-15 minutes with you on whatever's on your mind. And if you find this video helpful and interesting, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button to help the channel grow. And with that, let's get started. So in talking with these 7 clients, one, it's always good to reconnect with people you've spent anywhere from 6 months to a year with, helping them sell their business, and just reconnect. But I put all of the feedback I got from them into basically 5 buckets. Number 1 is your exit planning process. Number 2, how to select advisors to help you through this process. Number 3, a business valuation. 4, various housekeeping items that you might want to think about taking care of. And then 5, which was a little bit of the surprise one for me, which was seller's due diligence on the buyer. So with that, let's get started. To no surprise, the number 1 item that everybody came up with was really around exit planning. And that is really sitting down with your trusted advisor or advisors and start thinking about an exit. And there's really 2 pieces to that. And that first one is sitting down with a financial planner and understanding the finances that you need to live the life you want to in retirement, if that's what your goal is. And then 2, to augment that for a financial planner, for your own data point to be able to make a great decision. That's getting a business valuation and having either the broker, merger and acquisition advisor, and or trusted advisor put together a business valuation, and that could be just a market range valuation, but importantly is to put together a net equity number for you in a scenario so that you can understand the cash that you'll be taking out of the sale of the business prior to taxes. So when you sit down with that financial planner, you have some good data points to make a solid decision. Number 2, finding trusted advisors. Now, this was a little bit of a surprise to me, but it made sense coming from my clients. And their biggest concern was really finding a source that can give them good referrals to trusted advisors. A business broker or merger and acquisition advisor is, you got to find a fit. Not only should they be obviously competent, but they're somebody that you should personally click with because you're going to spend anywhere from 7 to 9 to maybe 12 months together working on the most important sale of the asset that you own, which is your business. So finding an advisor or finding a referral source that can refer you to 1 or 2 quality business broker or merger and acquisition advisors was important. And then 2, also finding a really good attorney, if you don't already have one, that can assist you and help the broker review the purchase and sale agreement and make sure that you get that negotiated out. Now, I will say that finding an attorney, there are lots of them, but finding a transition attorney that works with businesses that are in your size is really important. I've got attorneys that I work with that will take on a $50 million transaction, and they've got a full team, and the bill to get that transaction done can be pretty large from time to time, versus a business that's worth 1 or 2 million. You just don't need the same size of team and or expense ratio for those two different transactions. So working with your business broker or your merger and acquisition advisor or your business attorney, you should be able to find a competent attorney that fits your business size and need. Number 3, a business valuation. Now, there are two big points when taking a look at a business valuation. One is just the value of the business, but two is a potential net equity and deal structure so that you as an owner can understand how much of maybe a seller note you'll need to take, what the net equity or cash at closing would be, so that you can work with a financial planner to understand kind of where you are in that go, no-go decision about retiring and being able to live the lifestyle that you want on an ongoing basis. And the second thing that a good business broker or merger and acquisition advisor should be able to do for you is a little bit of a SWOT analysis. And that is really surrounding some of the big items that makes a business credible, bankable, and saleable. And the goal here is to increase all three of those items, right? So the first one that comes to mind is customer concentration. So we did an episode, and you can look for it on the website or the YouTube channel here, on customer concentration and how you want to take a look at it and try and diversify and drive those numbers down. And then the second one is really around a turnkey management team. And again, there's an episode, and I'll post a link to all of these down below so that you can take a look at them. But trying to take a look at the internal workings of the business at a fairly high level and see if there are things that can be improved upon to help you get a higher value and more equity or net equity and cash at closing. Number 4, housekeeping. And these items can be pretty broad. They can include making sure that your current lease is up to date. Remember, if you're going to do an SBA transaction, the SBA is going to require that the new buyer have a lease that is at least got some options to go out to the term of the loan. Take a look at your accounting and financials. Make sure they're up to date, and make sure and take a look at your balance sheet. And this is with regards to financials, probably the biggest obstacle or opportunity for improvement that I find with small businesses. Then make sure your tax returns and your internal financials match. Now, usually that's just taking a look at what your accountant's done when he gets your financials ready to file for tax returns, and making sure that any adjustments that he's made or she's made are reflected in your internal financials. Customer contracts. You want to make sure if you've got contracts, especially with reoccurring revenue clients, that they're up to date, signed, and well organized for a buyer to come in and do due diligence. And then lastly, things around key employees, making sure that if you've got 1 or 2 key employees, that they're taken care of, and hopefully they're going to be able to transition with the business, because if they're key employees, guess who's going to be wanting them to stick around? And it'll put some serious value on that with regards to the sale of your business. So housekeeping can be pretty broad, and again, working with a good broker or merger and acquisition advisor, going through that valuation and that SWOT analysis, given that you've got anywhere from a year to 2 years to plan, you should be able to bring these items up to snuff and increase your credibility and saleability. And finally, number 5, seller's due diligence on a buyer. Now, This is the one that caught me a little bit off guard, and with one of the clients that I was talking to, this actually was a pretty big deal, and we did a fairly in-depth seller's due diligence, and we put that right into the conditions, seller's conditions in the letter of intent, and they had to be satisfactory. So the seller, or excuse me, the buyer, when I started working with him on doing these checks and referrals, he knew they were coming, and he knew it was really important on the part of the seller that they get somebody that they really wanted to run their business, because a lot of their employees and some of their family were staying in the business during that transition. Again, you want to put that type of seller condition up front in the letter of intent, and they can include things like verifications of funds to close. If the buyer has bought other businesses in the past, you want to do an interview with past business sellers. See how that transaction went. Were there any big surprises? How has he treated the business and the employees since buying the business? Review financial statements being submitted to the bank. Now we're getting kind of deep here, but especially if you're taking a large seller note, you want to make sure that the buyer has the financial horsepower that if the business gets into trouble, that they can make sure that it keeps running and has the capital to work out either growth or problems that they find. So again, the last thing I can say on this one is seller's due diligence. Make sure that you spell it out in pretty good detail in the letter of intent so that you're not having an uncomfortable conversation with a potential buyer down the road. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that participated in my informal survey. It was just good reconnecting with everyone, and then just talking about, from your perspective, what pieces of advice you would give to an owner of a privately held business if they're thinking to sell in the next 12 to 24 months. And again, they really are, start your exit planning at least 2 years out. Look for a really solid, good referral source to give you and connect you with your trusted advisors. Get a solid business valuation and a net equity calculation so that you can sit down with your financial planner and have that other part of that financial conversation about cash that'll enable you to move into retirement. Housekeeping items, and then finally the one that I found the most surprising was around sellers' due diligence on buyers. So I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.